Hi, you came back. That's very kind of you. So we're ready now to take a look at processing itself and see if we can take some of this knowledge and apply it in processing itself. Write some code, draw some pictures to the screen. So what is processing? Where do we get it? How does it work? This is what I want this video to really cover, to get you comfortable, to make sure not only do you have the basic understanding of the coordinate system and how to write some functions that will draw to a window, but also how the processing software and environment actually works as well. So if we walk over here, this is the processing website, processing.org. I will include a link, of course, below to this site. This is where you can click here to download processing. Processing is an application just like anything else. You can download it, install it, and run it. I'm not going to go through those steps right now in this video. That's about the only piece of information that I'm assuming knowledge of, which is just the knowledge of how to install software on your computer. So, but if I've forgotten something, call, write, and send your complaint letters to me. Okay, so once you've downloaded and installed processing and run it, you're going to get a nice little window like this. So what processing is, it's many things. In a way, it's a programming language. The truth of that matter is the programming language you're writing in, which we talk about, is the Java programming language. But processing has a whole set of functions and things that have been added that are going to allow you to sort of easily draw to the screen, as well as it's stripped away some of the obnoxious I don't like to insult Java. I actually really love Java, even though that makes me just about the least cool person in the world. But it's taken away a lot of the stuff that makes it uncomfortable to begin with Java and make things simpler. So it is a programming language, even though really the language you're writing in is Java. It's certainly an environment. This is the environment that you're going to type in. Hello, I love processing. Right? This could theoretically be our processing program. If we ran it, we're going to get some sort of errors, like I have no idea what that means, but it's an environment. This is a place where you can type your code and execute your code, which is one of the wonderful things about processing, because you don't have to figure out which text editor should I use and how do I compile and then where do I go view it and where do I debug it. Everything is here in processing itself. The other thing that is really, it's a community. So if we go back to this website, there are examples, there's a forum, it's open source, there is a rich community of people. There's lots of other sites that I could link to of using processing, sharing code, teaching with processing, making projects with processing. So in addition to just being software, there's also this vibrant community which will hopefully help you feel happier and more comfortable kind of diving into this new world of programming for the first time. Okay, so once you've downloaded processing, you've run it, you've got this window. So a couple things I should point out. There is up here, right? This is kind of the, I don't know what to call this, a toolbar, a little set of buttons. There's a bunch of things you can do. This is the one that I think is the most important. This triangle is the run button. It looks kind of like the play button on some media device, like I don't know, a VCR. I don't know, an Apple TV today. I don't think an Apple TV or a Roku box has play buttons. But anyway, the point is, this is your run button. But it is not really play. What run means is compile your code and execute it. So it's going to run through your code, compile it into binary, execute, and run the program, which is why when we ran this one, we got this error. It said unexpected token hello. Now, one of the things I like about processing is it sometimes gives you a nice friendly error message, and sometimes it doesn't. But we can I didn't mean to talk about this now, but whenever you have a mistake in your syntax, you're going to get an error. And that error will hopefully lead you to how to fix your syntax. But here we're saying, it says unexpected token hello, because hello is not token, meaning a sort of sequence of characters in between spaces and punctuation, a word, so to speak. It's unexpected because it doesn't know what hello means. Perhaps it would know what line means. So for example, if instead of writing that, I wrote line, and what did we say, 100, 50, 600, 250, and I put a semicolon, and I ran this program, we would see, I'm not over here. Hi, I apologize. This is, I can't go back and fix it. It's just going to have to, someday I'll fix this video. I'll have a way of like dropping something in, or I probably need to re-record all of these because I'm just, this is like a rehearsal really for that video that I imagine will be so perfect. But you can see I was able to run this program and there was no error. So this is fine syntax. It's the syntax we learned how to draw a line from point x, from the first xy to the second xy. Now, the window we got here doesn't actually have the line, and it's also very small. Didn't we say that our window should be 640 by 360? Well, one of the things that we haven't learned is actually how to set the size of the window. We can see that by default, if you don't specify a size, we're actually getting a 100 by 100 pixel wide window. So here we're now about to learn another function, size, S-I-Z-E, and I can say 640, 360, semicolon, and now we have, look at this, 2 lines of code. We've really got a program now. Size, line. And if we run this one, which I can also do Command R, which I'm doing, we see, there it is. There's that program. I sadly erased the drawing of it over the board, but we can see this basically mirrors exactly what we drew out on the board. So now is a moment where you could say to yourself, this drawing that I made with pencil and paper, let me see if I can recreate it in processing. Can I write the instructions to create that drawing? And this is sort of your first practice in programming. I should point out that even though I said we weren't in the introduction anymore because we're actually making stuff and using processing, we're still in the introduction. We're not really programming. Well, we are programming. We are writing code. We are compiling and executing that code. But there's no real logic here. We're not saying, hey, you know, if this happens, then do this. We're not creating this kind of flow, this complex sequence of logic. We're just kind of issuing almost a linear list of commands that ends with a static picture. So really what we want to get to in the next set of videos is that flow of the program, that logic. We're going to really do so much more to start understanding the foundations of computational thinking. Right now we're just kind of practicing by getting used to syntax and the run button. And I hope the camera might cut out in a second, but excuse me for a second, I'm coming right back. Hello, I just had to press a button in the other part of the room. Okay, so now this brings us to my next point. So let's say that what we want to do, I knew that would happen. I'm not even over here. Let's say hi. Okay, I have to press another button. This is terrible. I really should edit this somehow, and someday I will. You could, if someone wants to download this video and like cut out some parts and then send it to me, I'll re-upload it. But let me see. So let's look at this list over here. These are the list of functions we're going to start with. Rectangle, ellipse, line, and point. And this is our window, which is 640 by 360. And let's say we wanted to kind of draw this. I don't know what I'm doing. Something like this. This could be our beginning drawing. Wow, you guys are hopefully much more artistic than me and can come up with something more creative. But all we know is how to draw a line. Now we need to discover how to draw a rectangle. So you could guess. I wish I had a little dialogue here. I would say, hey, what are some ideas? You know, how would you design the rectangle function for processing? What arguments would you require? And you might say, oh, what about the xy of this point and the xy of this point? That's a possibility. What about the xy of the center and the width and the height? What about the xy of the corner and the width and the height? In fact, all of these are possible. But the default way of drawing a rectangle in processing is with 4 arguments. So rectangle has 4 arguments, x, y, width, and height. The x and y being the location of the top left, the width being the width in pixels, and the h, the height, the h being the height in pixels. So let's go add this to our program. Over here, let's say, okay, we want to draw a rectangle. And just to sort of see that it's working, let's make the xy the same as the top left corner of this line. And let's make a very skinny rectangle that's only 20 pixels, but rather tall. That's 200 pixels. And if we run this, we can see, look, we now have a rectangle. We've created almost this kind of like slide thing. We have this line, and we have a rectangle over here with the xy. And I could zoom all the way into this. I'm not sure the point of that, but the xy being the top left, the width being 20 pixels, and the height being whatever I typed, 100, 200, something like that, 200 pixels. Okay, so we can see, okay, now we learned how to draw a rectangle. And I could go through and show you ellipse and line and point, and there are lots of other drawing functions in processing. But I mean, I'm not going to sit here all day and talk through every single possible way to draw everything in processing. there's got to be a better way, right? It doesn't just happen, and you should watch. There's lots of people have lots of interesting ideas on how to make this more intuitive while you're actually doing the programming itself. I mean, what if instead of typing this out, you could just draw the rectangle on the screen and the code would suddenly appear? But that's not really the point of what we're doing here. What I want to say is one of the things you want to get used to is how do you look up this information? How do you look up how to draw a line if you didn't know, if you didn't just enjoy watching videos where somebody with kind of slightly messy hair just talks and talks and talks all the time? So the way you do that is through the processing website, through the reference. So over here, there's a link to reference on the left over here. And if I click on reference, we're going to suddenly see this web page has a list of all these possible functions. And these are the ones I want us to kind of look at right now. 2D primitives: arc, ellipse, line, point, quad, rectangle, triangle. Here is a list of basic drawing functions in processing. Each one of those is a link. If we go to that link, it's going to show you, hey, here's the syntax. Here's the name of the function. Here are the arguments. Here are what the arguments do. Here's an example. So just let's go to rectangle, which I think is a good one to look at. We can see, hey, look, here is the name of the function rect, and here is an example of what it looks like. 4 numbers. I don't know what those numbers are. Well, by the way, you can do rounded rectangles and slightly, there's all sorts of stuff. And you can read the description, but really, we can see here, this is what we're doing. We're making a rectangle with A, B, C, D. Now, I often think of those, and I did on the board over there, as X, Y, W, H, because X for X, Y for Y, W for width, H for height. But we can see here in the reference, it's going to describe that for us. And I'm going to zoom out slightly. Not all the way. We can sort of see here, let me try to get this in a way that you can see it. We can see here, rectangle A, B, C, D. A is the X coordinate of the rectangle by default. B is the Y coordinate of the rectangle. C is the width, and D is the height. So we can see that this page is giving us what the syntax is, what those arguments are, what the arguments actually do, and then at the top here, a few examples. And I'm not going to go through how the rounded stuff works. This is something you can explore on your own and ask questions in my new weekly program, Ask a Processing Question, which will start sometime in September. I don't know, I'm like plugging a video within a video for no reason. I meant that to be strange and humorous, and it was not. I laughed sadly inside by myself. Okay, so this is really where we are. I think I'm actually kind of coming to the end of this video. Now, what you can do for your exercise is, in the next video we're going to look at color. What you can do for your exercise is go through the reference pages for ellipse, line, point, rectangle, try to type the code in, make a sketch, and design your drawing. Now, I'll show you, I often suggest to make a little alien or monster. It's kind of a nice thing to start with, but really any pattern that you might want to think to make, see if you can create it with numbers. And again, let me just point something out. This is kind of a silly exercise. It's almost like a red herring. Is that the right expression? Where it's kind of a diversion. Programming is not about hard-coding numbers into functions to create a picture. Programming is about creating a sequence of instructions, a logic to execute a task. But just to get started, and really we want to avoid, we want to really, hello over here, we want to avoid this way, this type of, eventually we're going to see that we want to avoid this. We don't want to have a lot of all these hard-coded numbers, and this is not, there's not, it will all become clear as we move on, but this is not what we're doing eventually. But it's a good place to get kind of started and just kind of get used to processing and get used to what errors you're going to get. Like when I forget that semicolon again, let me forget this semicolon instead. Yes, because with that one, at the bottom here it said syntax error, maybe missing a semicolon. So you can see you want to just get sort of practice. What kind of syntax errors are you going to make? Are you used to fixing them? Can you look up stuff in the reference? Can you make that picture with processing? So work on that. The next video will go over how to add color to this, as well as kind of fill in some of the blanks for some of these functions. And we'll be kind of wrapping up this sort of first group of videos about just kind of the basics of syntax and the basics of drawing and processing. Great. Thank you. And I'm going to press this button.